The show is a half an hour of television that really used the medium to highlight a completely different experience, right? The point of the television show was to feature children's literature, quality children's literature, that revealed to them the width and breadth of the world in a variety of ways. And then we would connect that literature to real world experience. And my role was sort of taking kids on an adventure that is life through literature.
Behind the Brand features the people who are making things happen. Get insights to grow your business from the experts who've done it. Get Behind the Brand. Sponsored by DocuSign, the global standard for e-signature. Get your free trial at DocuSign.com/Behind the Brand. Hi, I'm Brian Elliott. Welcome to another edition of Behind the Brand. Today I'm here with actor LeVar Burton. LeVar, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Brian.
I usually ask my guests, how'd you get this job?
The job of being me?
That's right.
Yeah.
How'd you get your start? Where are you from?
I'm from Northern California. Sacramento is where I grew up. I was born in West Germany. My father was a photographer in the military. He married my mother when she was an high school English teacher, and he was a young soldier.
Cool.
And we settled down in Sacramento, California, and that's where I grew up.
Did you always want to be an actor? How'd you get your start?
My first choice for profession was actually the Catholic priesthood. I studied in the seminary for 4 years when I was younger. I just really felt at a very early age that I had what they referred to as the calling. I thought I had a vocation. And I actually did have a vocation. And as has continued to bear itself out in my life, I find that if I take the step that's right in front of me, the next step will always reveal itself. So going to St. Pius and immersing myself in that culture of seminary and what it feels like to be a priest, that's how I discovered that's really not what I want at all. You see what I'm saying? But I couldn't have determined that without going through that experience. No one could have dissuaded me from entering the seminary. I had my mind set on it. And I guess I've revealed myself to be the sort of person, if I really set my mind on it, then it's done. I just don't stop until I get it done.
I think that's a really important and maybe subtle message. You know, people who watch this show, they're from all over the place. You know, they're entrepreneurs, they're business owners, they're people who care about certain things. But a lot of us get stuck thinking that we have to get it exactly right, or we have to know what the plan is exactly before we even take action.
Right.
And I think that's a great message, that sometimes you gotta try stuff, be willing to fail,
Absolutely.
experiment. Yeah.
Well, that's something that I didn't learn until much later in life, until very recently, the power of an iterative point of view.
So how'd you get from
from the seminary
to your first acting job? Yeah.
Well, when I left the seminary, it was to study theater at the University of Southern California. I got a full scholarship to USC. I moved here in the summer of 1974 to go to SC. And my intent was to graduate with a Bachelor of Fine Arts degree in drama, move to New York, and become the next big Broadway sensation. And as a sophomore, I auditioned for this mini-series. Nobody knew what a mini-series was. But I actually did know who Alex Haley was. The year before, as a freshman, I'd done a term paper on Malcolm X. And Alex Haley co-wrote the autobiography of Malcolm X.
I did not know that.
Malcolm, yeah. They were great friends. They met when Alex was doing the Playboy interviews. He did a lot of those while he financed his writing trips to do the research for Roots. And so, there I was in the right place at the right time, and got cast at the age of 19 and a sophomore, still a sophomore in college, in the pivotal role in what proved to be one of the most significant pieces of television in the history of the medium.
Yeah, kind of a big deal.
Yeah, it was. It was. It really was.
Yeah.
It really, really was. And I learned a lot from that experience, not the least of which was the power, the sheer power of the medium of TV.
Can I ask you, like, that picking process, did it happen pretty organically? I mean, so
what do you mean?
I would assume you tried out
the picking process.
So
that casting process.
You got cast.
Yeah.
Were you the natural? Were you the shoe-in, or did you have to compete with a lot of people?
Well, apparently, even before they got to me, they had looked for months, right?
Yeah.
And finally, they had been to Chicago, they'd been to New York, they'd exhausted all the normal means of finding professional talent. They'd seen every young black kid in LA who had an agent, guaranteed. And they were just casting the net wider. They called the drama schools in the area.
Yeah.
Right? You got any young black kids we can take a look at? We're trying to cast this television thing.
What do you think was missing that they found in you? What?
I don't know. I had many conversations with both Stan Margulies, the producer, and David Green, the director of the first 3 hours of Roots. I think what they saw in me was something that they could not pin on as specifically American, and that there was a blank slate, sort of a neutral palette that the audience could imprint on. And
that's interesting. I wonder if they picked up some of the, what I would guess would be spirituality. You know, maybe a good soul. You know, from your history just at the seminary to now making this transaction into telling stories and being in front of people. I wonder if that was something they picked up on. Hard to say.
I don't know. I don't recall. I don't know how spiritual I was at the age of 19.
Fair enough.
I was pretty much in survival mode at the age
Sure.
of 19. I think most of us are.
Can you point to one person who gave you your big break?
Well, Roots was my first audition. So
Wow.
I would have to say that there are many. Alex Haley was a big supporter of mine, and as was Stan Margulies and David Green. They all really advocated in my favor with the network ABC, because ABC was justifiably shy about giving the lead 4-hour role to a kid who'd never been in front of a camera before a screen test.
Miniseries that was untested, right?
Yeah, it was.
There was no.
Yeah.
No track. Well, talk about stepping up to the plate and hitting the grand slam. I mean,
but given the opportunity, I mean, I think that's what we all like to think that we would be able to do.
Well
given that the preparation was all for this, right? When you get that opportunity to step up, you have to go for it. Even if you're not sure you're up to it, you still have to go for it.
Yeah, great message. Did you feel prepared, or
yeah,
were you ready?
I felt like I had been preparing all my life to play Kunta Kinte. I felt like I knew what this kid felt at every turn. At every turn in the story, I was right there with him. I had no problems expressing all of it: the innocence, the disillusionment, the rage, all of it. I was on board.
Yeah. Where did you go? I mean, you were only 19. You didn't have a lot of life experience.
I know, right?
Where did you go to get that? Was that
inside? That's where actors go.
Yeah.
I don't talk about acting a lot. It's just not something I talk about. But that is something I will share with you. That's where the journey is. Not just for actors. I mean, for all of us. The journey's inside. No matter whether you've been on the planet for 19 years or 90, you still have to rely on that which you've got. You've got no other choice. You got to dance with what brought you, right? You just got to. Otherwise, you fold your hand and you go home, right?
Is that the difference, you think, between someone who's a good actor and needs more improvement, maybe, is their ability to go places? I mean, I can imagine...
I believe the answer to that question is yes.
I've heard in other interviews actors saying that they've drawn from life experience. What do you do when you don't have that experience, right?
I think you go to that place, that well, called your humanness, your humanity, because that's ultimately where it all lives. All the other stuff is just experience on top of it, but if you begin, You
explore it in your mind what it must feel like, or sound like, or taste like.
It's all of that. And one of the things that I learned at SC, through Mary Carver, my acting coach, was the value of really layering in all of that information in any given performance. So I felt when Kunta came along, I was ready. I was absolutely ready. There's a scene where Kunta chases a hen, a guinea fowl, and he catches him. And at that moment that he finally catches him, he sees the white man for the first time. He forgets the hen and he runs back to camp to tell everybody what he saw. In the filming of that, there was no hen. But I had been doing exercises for 2 years about visualization, and I absolutely saw that hen and followed it when we shot. And the hen was added in later. I guarantee you, there was no hen there. But that's the kind of feeling I had in terms of being so prepared. I just felt really, really prepared.
So let's fast forward a little bit. To the point where you became a geek. And I use that term affectionately because I'm one of them. Let's talk a little bit about your...
I guess I've always been a geek, really, because I didn't have a pocket protector in high school, but my best friend did, And we were the guys who were into electronics. We would hook up phones to room, we were just
ahead of your time, maybe.
We were curious. And we were also, we were seminarians at a time that was full of great change in the Catholic Church. We're talking the mid-70s, right? There was great change, in America going on. And we were not immune to it. So it was a time of real introspection, self-discovery, experimentation, seeing, trying things on, trying on this, trying on that.
So you're kind of like a little bit of magnetic pulled towards sci-fi when that opportunity came.
I started reading sci-fi when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And watched my first episodes of Star Trek and found a home, right? Really.
So you're a big fan right away?
Right away.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You have a favorite episode?
The Frank Gorshin episode, half black, half white, half black. That one resonated. I grew up in the '60s, right? And so America was really struggling with the idea of race, racial identity, racism, the remnants of slavery, and the Jim Crow South. It was heady times.
Yeah.
And there was as much hope in the air as there was fear and sometimes desperation when things started looking really, when like people started getting beaten, dogs and hoses and stuff like that, lynchings. But there was as much hope alive in those times as anything else.
You feel like that's one of the purposes of media or entertainment, is to bridge gaps or to break down barriers, or to, you look at how far we've come in a relatively short time. We still have a long ways to go.
I would agree with that.
But is that part of your mission? Is that part of why you do this, why you're so passionate?
I think I learned early on, and again, the Roots experience was part of it. When I got an opportunity to do Reading Rainbow, I really saw that this medium was really, really powerful, and the idea of using the medium of television to steer children who are learning how to read, who are cracking the code, and making, quite frankly, a decision, a lifetime decision. Am I going to be a reader or not?
Yeah.
Right? Using the medium of television to highlight literature and to get them hooked on books during the summer, when they would normally be sitting in front of the television, seemed like a really good idea at the time.
So you've been doing this for 20 years, right?
Well,
Reading Rainbow?
Reading Rainbow I did for 26 years. This is the 30th anniversary of the brand. So I hosted and produced the show for 25 years. We were in continuous production for 25 years. We did 150 some odd episodes.
Wow.
And we just celebrated the 30th anniversary of the brand. Our first episode aired June 6th, 1993.
So for those who've been living in a cave and don't know about Reading Rainbow, talk a little bit about what it is and what's the purpose.
Wow. Reading Rainbow was a half-an-hour television show on PBS, which is really important to note because, we could talk about that if you want, but PBS is a really extraordinary institution in terms of its mandate of providing access to everybody. It's wonderful like that. And the purpose of the show was to, at that, what I call the point of purchase, have an influence on a child, on whether or not they're going to really embrace the world of literature. The show is a half an hour of television that really used the medium to highlight a completely different experience, right? The point of the television show was to feature children's literature, quality children's literature, that revealed to them the width and breadth of the world in a variety of ways. And then we would connect that literature to real world experience. And my role was sort of, I used to refer to myself as not just the host, but sort of the Pied Piper.
Mm-hmm.
I was sort of the big brother, and really taking kids on an adventure that is life through literature. And what we discovered over time was that not only did the kids who watched the show, their reading and comprehension skills hold over the summer months, in many cases they improved, and then we were around long enough. We started simply as a summer program, but then we kept getting funded, and another funding cycle would come, and another funding cycle, and we continued to make episodes, and eventually we had enough episodes to be in the year-long rotation of the PBS Ready to Learn lineup, and we enjoyed that for many, 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 many years, and it was good. And then, but when PBS decided to pull Reading Rainbow out of the Ready to Learn lineup in 2009, that's when my business partner and I looked at an opportunity we began to imagine what the brand would be like for today's kids, because today's kids are leaps and bounds away from the kids of the 80s who sat and that experience came to them. Back in 1983, the television brought the experience to you. Now you can interact with the book experience. You can self-direct a journey. There's so many opportunities for personal connection to literature.
Yeah.
Through this really wonderful digital medium, and so we began to imagine what the new version of the show would be like, and then the iPad came out, and we were convinced that whatever we needed to do it with children's books. And that was a direct vertical in terms of the old business and what the new business would also bring to the forefront. And it was, it's not been easy. It's been really hard.
So what's been most difficult? Is it pushback, getting...
No, the most difficult thing is surviving to the end of the first year of your business.
How long do you give what you think is a great idea until you give up on it? I mean, it sounds like you pushed through and you made it to the other side, but not everyone's that lucky.
Well, this idea really began for me in terms of owning the brand more than 20 years ago. So this is a long-held dream coming true for me.
This has been truly a marathon.
It really has.
Yeah.
And when I set my intention all those years ago that one day I think if this works out, I really want to stick. I really want to stick with this. That was the original impetus, and then, just by the sheer force of us having been around for so long, we were there at a very interesting time in the history of children's media.
Yeah, you're talking about the technology change.
The technology change.
So what are some of the forces, let's talk about the other side of the coin, what are some of the forces that tried to work against you? Was it financial, was it people?
Well, the raising money is always hard. I mean, Mark and I have spent the last 6 months of our lives raising money, doing nothing but raising money for this Series A. And that's exhausting too. So, and you don't get a chance to really work on new product when we're a small company. We still have 10 employees.
So for those who understand what Series A means, give us a range of what you were trying to raise for Series A. And give us an idea what seed looked like.
Seed was all in about $3 million, but part of it included the ability to capture the brand, to bring the brand in-house.
Own the assets.
Own the assets on with a worldwide perpetual and exclusive license with WNED, the Buffalo Public Television station that owns the mark.
Got it.
And we have a great relationship with them. They are our partners, and we have the right and opportunity to exploit the brand in ways that we see fit, that will continue to enhance the value of the brand. And so that's really what we're trying to pull off.
Yeah.
And the last year has been it's been really hard. This is the hardest I've ever worked in my life, and it's the most fun I've ever had. But it's really hard. It's not easy.
So I want to go back to and just dissect what you're finding difficult. I have a feeling that you're not in the same boat. A lot of people are going through, if not the exact same thing, very similar things in different companies. So again, give us a range of what that A round looks like what you're trying to get for your project. I think everyone struggles with, how much do I need for seed? How much do I need for the next round?
We had an unusual seed in that we were funded by what we have come to know as really aligned money. We had an investment from the Kaufman Foundation, the Ewing and Marion Kaufman Foundation.
Yep.
We were the first for-profit investment that foundation has ever made.
Yeah.
And then the balance of
Well, Kaufman is a huge supporter of entrepreneurs in general.
They absolutely are.
Yeah.
And education. So it was really it was a really good fit. And under the previous direction of the foundation, they were really trying to experiment.
Yeah.
With for-profit investment. Harold's gone now, and I'm pretty sure that they're not doing that anymore. But it was we were right at the right place at the right time.
Yeah.
And then the balance of the funding came from a private investor, a man named John Raymond's. A private investor wants to do good in the world with his money, and he means that. He absolutely means that.
So what else is difficult? I mean,
team, finding the right team, adjusting the team. You know, I think and this is where we began this conversation. One of the things that I really had to learn was to adopt an iterative mindset. The business that Mark and I are from, show business, when we make a product and we're done. You know, you make a television series, you do X number of episodes, and if you get picked up, you do those, and if you don't, you move on to the next. Mark's produced hundreds of movies. You do a movie, you devote a year of your life to it, you move on, right?
You constantly got to be looking for your next job.
In this business, it's a marathon. It's not a sprint, right? We invested a year just securing the funding. Then we invested another year in building product, right? And then we launched product, and that was the beginning of the finish line for getting to a year's worth of growth and metrics and experience.
So what advice would you give to people who are in the same boat, trying to get off the ground or trying to keep their company lights on when the going gets tough? Because I just, I'm one of them. I'm a small business owner. We have a production company. We produce this show, and we're in our 4th season. But season 1, nobody cared, right? And so
you had to prove that there was a market.
Well, not just that, but like even when we felt like there was a market, sometimes you can get a little discouraged when you're not getting the buzz or the attention or the engagement. How long do you know how to give it?
That's a gut thing, and I think that entrepreneurs live by their gut, and you know if it's on its last legs, and there's nothing left to do but turn off the lights. And hopefully you never press it that far so that you have to be the last person turning off the lights, having let everybody go, and what a horrible feeling that is. So
you wear a lot of hats at the company. Like, are you taking out the trash and you're buying lunch and you're the
like I said, we're a 10-person company, so we do wear a lot of hats. We do. And that has its own stresses, and it's hard for everybody it's hard to be effective in any one job when you're actually doing 7, and probably 3 of which you're qualified for.
What are you bad at? Like, what's your weakness maybe versus a strength in terms of managing a company?
I'm bad at returning emails. I hate it. I hate emails.
That surprises me. Now you're huge on Twitter. Talk about how you use social media and why you use it. And
I love social media. I do. And I don't think I tweet every day. I try and tweet at least every day, a little bit. And I enjoy it. I use Twitter as a reality check, I really do. And I use it as a business tool. I use it as a place for, research, R&D. I
like what kinds of things are you tweeting?
I throw ideas out, get responses, just, sort of take the pulse of, if I'm thinking about something, I have a forum, I have a conversation in which I can engage people on any subject I choose in 140 characters or less.
Can you think of a situation where you've taken the advice of your community and implemented it?
Well, I know that when we launched the Reading Rainbow app on the iOS platform, immediately people began asking about Android. And being a business that our customers are our end users are kids, but the purchase is made by the mom. We're a subscription model, mobile library of books and videos for your kid. Over 300 books and over 100 videos now.
Where can they find it if they go to the App Store? Or?
App Store, Reading Rainbow. And now we're on the Kindle, and so being able to be on the Kindle Fire platform has been really important to me, and every day of my life for the last year I've heard many times the message, you got to port to Kindle. So
see, what you just said is so important, because a lot of people are, whether they're tweeting, posting, whatever, they're pushing. They're pushing their, look at me, I'm important, whatever they want. And you're using it as this listening tool, which is incredible.
I think it could. Look, I don't believe I have all the answers, but I believe myself smart enough to figure a lot of things out. And if I don't know something, I'll go ask somebody who does know.
So let's go back to you as a CEO. You know, talk about some more of your challenges. You say you're not good about responding to emails. So how are you?
See that, but I'm not the CEO. Mark is the CEO, and I'm co-founder, and I'm the curator in chief, and I take that job very seriously. That is my primary function at the company. I'm the curator through which all the content runs, and that's what I do, right? So the books, the videos, they've all got my imprimatur on them because I put in the time.
Yeah.
Right.
What mistakes have you made?
Boy, you got a day or so for
Just
me to
give us
list
a couple.
them?
And I think, you know, when we talk about mistakes, a lot of people, I think there's this stigma attached to failure or mistakes. And
it's a peculiarly American thing, I believe, this aversion to failure. I think I've known this intellectually for a long time. These past 3 years have certainly been an opportunity for me to really learn that lesson very viscerally, that you do not learn as much from your successes as you do from your failures.
yeah.
And the biggest lesson I've learned in these 3 years is trust, but verify. I tend to be a very trusting person. And what I have learned is that it does not serve me to be to trust without verification. Mm-hmm. So I have instituted, I've like pounded that into my psyche now. I will never.
So beyond the vibe check, you've got to
you got to do your homework.
Yeah.
You've got to do your homework.
Is that about people or is that projects? Or?
It really does relate to people. It relates to people, but it relates to the direction, any pivots that you need to make as a business. Do you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Mark and I are both very, very strong personalities, and one of the things that we have learned along this journey is that we really do know what we're doing. And even though we weren't businessmen, as a film producer, Mark has been responsible for the generation of billions of dollars of profit. Yeah. And each one of those projects, as I said, is a little business in and of itself. So what we didn't know was the intersection of technology and education. But what we figured out pretty quickly is that it's evolving pretty fast and nobody really knows everything about it. It's just that fluid.
Well, but good on you, though, for recognizing that opportunity, because a lot of people, I think, are still afraid of it. And I think, especially in Hollywood, there's this huge land grab that's going on right now, right? You've got the studios, you've got the agencies, and then you have MCNs, multi-channel networks. And they're all in this massive land grab for talent. And I think there's still a large majority of Hollywood that thumbs their nose at the internet, at social. Although they all want it for social
At their
proof.
peril. Seriously, at their peril. I'm thrilled at the wild west nature of digital media.
Let's talk about that and some of the opportunities, because I definitely see the other side of the coin. Like, for example, I won't name names. A big, well-known director will say, there's no way I'm putting what I just created for the big screen or for the small screen on YouTube, because that's going to sit right next to cat videos or something fodder. It's not worthy of my amazing work. And yet,
it depends on what you want. What is your desired outcome? Yeah. My desire is to connect and engage. That's what I want to do. That's what I've spent the last 36 years of my life doing, connecting and engaging, and so all the things that I do serve that end, and they also, what I'm also excited about is that this is an opportunity for the small business guy to create content and compete on a level field with major studios and networks. And we're creating original content for the video field trips in the app. That it's the highest quality children's content being produced on the planet. I'd put it next to anything. We have an amazing ability. Between the two of us, Mark and I have 60 years in show business experience. And it's a crew of 5 guys. Yeah. It's me and 4 guys.
Yeah.
Right? And with the access that we're able to get by Reading Rainbow, we are delivering storytelling at the highest level imaginable for $400 an episode. a segment. Unheard of.
Yeah.
Unheard of. Those guys can't compete with what I'm doing. And so I see an opportunity with the Reading Rainbow brand to really build an enrichment marketplace for today's digital families. And that's the overall plan. And we get there, I believe, by remaining true to the original mission. We're looking to change the world literally one children's book at a time.
And you've changed the distribution model, so you don't have to get picked anymore by a major network.
No.
You don't have to wait. You're going direct to consumer.
Right. And that's why social engagement is so important to me. Yeah. I'm going direct to consumers with my message. And I think I have something of value to offer. Clearly, the customers that we have do, for the overwhelming majority of them, after a third billing cycle now, we have almost 78% of those who signed up on day one for a 6-month option have signed up now for a third time.
So you're retaining.
We're retaining like crazy.
How are you finding new folks? Do you do marketing campaigns? You have a...
We did not raise seed for marketing, so it's basically for a year it's been me sitting down to talk to anybody who was interested in talking about education, technology, the intersection thereof. Yeah. I've been there, and I spent the last 12 months on the road. We did a soft launch of product at WWDC, the Worldwide Developer Conference for Apple, last June. Then I flew to New York and introduced the Reading Rainbow app officially to the public on the Jimmy Fallon Show. First time an app had ever been debuted on nighttime television, but I'm pretty certain it won't be the last.
Well, Jimmy gets technology, and
Jimmy gets technology.
He's big on Twitter. He loves video games. I mean, he gets tech for sure.
And he grew up on Reading Rainbow. He and his sister Gloria.
That doesn't hurt.
So yeah, there was that. But that's the point. That's the whole point. That's the beauty of this business, because there's a whole generation of parents now who grew up on the show. And they recognize that the value that they got from Reading Rainbow, the television series, they want that same sort of value for their digital kids. And who are they going to look to for that?
As a tactical, let's underscore what you did brilliantly, by the way.
What's that? Well,
you identified someone who could amplify your message.
Oh,
that was completely relevant.
Yeah.
One, they were a fan of your show growing up.
Right.
Two, they were already embedded in the tech community.
Absolutely.
And tech savvy. And
yes, absolutely.
You know, Jimmy is a brilliant tweeter, and you know, even his show on broadcast talks about technology.
That's right.
And then you picked the right platform. You got it, you know, to a group of people, parents who are watching the show, who care about a popular TV show. You're awesome. You're amazing. That was textbook.
Look, a lot of this has been figuring it out as we go along. And I have to say, I'm really, really proud of my business partner and I, because we've learned a lot, and we have grown an enormous lot. I think as business owners and as men. And I know for certain that the who you pick as your partners are so important.
Yeah.
I mean, if I could stress anything, it would be very, very certain of who you partner with. Make sure that there's somebody who actually compliments you, and make sure that there's someone who shares vision.
So the intersection of technology and education, do you think we're too early with this?
I don't believe so. I believe that this is an opportunity that has never existed before in the history of humankind. Here's what I believe. I believe that because every culture on the planet has a tradition of storytelling, right? That if you take tablet computers and embed stories with any information you want, language, math, science, social studies, layer the storytelling with gaming and rewards, light games and rewards, you can teach a child so fast, so fast, frighteningly fast. And it is rare when you have an this is a real, it's the difference between written pen and ink and type. You know what I'm saying? The Gutenberg printing press was a real breakthrough in the history of the dissemination of information.
Game changer, yeah.
Game changer. Yeah. And I think we're at a very similar place, and I don't think that it's too early to engage. I don't think it's too early to engage children with the technology. People ask me all the time, well, does it hurt the child when they read on a tablet computer? I don't care if it's in a bound book or on a tablet computer. Quite frankly, I just want kids to read.
Yeah. I heard from one of our previous guests, author David Meerman Scott. He was talking about what LA Unified School District has just done. Explain what's happening.
They are spending about $1 billion to give every student in LAUSD an iPad. Everybody sees the opportunity. There's like billions of dollars in business at stake here. And the competition for eyeballs is, for where a child's education is concerned, the competition is primarily games and themed entertainment.
Yeah.
So my concern is that there be some balance to the offering out there. And I go back to the PBS model. PBS, when we were growing up, your parents could put you in front of PBS, and they didn't really need to know what the program was. They knew that you were going to enjoy it, and it was going to be good for you.
Yeah.
It was a great curator in that respect. And I want our kids, my company, to really be that go-to experience for today's digital family.
We've been talking with entrepreneur, innovator, and actor LeVar Burton. Thanks so much for being part of the show.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you. I really enjoyed it.
This Behind the Brand episode is brought to you by DocuSign, the global standard for e-signature. Get your free trial at DocuSign.com/behindthebrand.